From returning to the octagon after almost 2 years to giving commentary on Ngannou's recent move away from the UFC, Conor McGregor is as relevant as ever, and his return to the UFC might give us one of the biggest moments in the sport's history. That's right, the Mystic Mac is returning after 2 long years. We haven't seen him since he broke his ankle in that nasty injury against Dustin the Diamond Poirier. But after a long rehab period, the double champ is finally ready to let loose again. Honestly, it's kind of a huge relief, because none of us were confident that he was ever gonna fight again. And yet, here we are. 2023 is gonna feature the return of the Notorious, and it may very well be the biggest fight in the history of the sport. I mean, the fans would line up to watch this guy spar with a cardboard cutout. So imagine how excited everyone is now that we know he's going to be fighting multiple times on his new contract. The Irish brawler's gonna be taking on the extremely exciting Michael Chandler for his first opponent back.
Good entry by Nurmagomedov.
As I said, the fight's gonna be huge, but the way Dana engineered this whole thing, it's specifically designed to build as much hype as possible. Yep, the fight won't happen till the middle of the summer, and considering that we've been hearing about this since 2022, that's a long time away.
Donald's nose is already bleeding. And it might be from the shoulder. Yes.
Get out of here with that.
But it's all part of Dana White's master plan to get as much out of this as he can. And so, before the fight happens, we're getting to see Mike and McGregor take each other on as coaches on season 31 of TUF. You can bet that there's gonna be some epic moments of tension and hundreds of chances for these two men to sell this fight. And honestly, I'm glad it's going down like this, because even though we have to wait a bit longer when the fight happens, it'll be an insane explosion of hype. Now, as I've already said, we know that this fight's gonna be taking place sometime in the middle of the summer. And, well, that has some major implications for what we might see from the Irish brawler in the rest of 2023. After his first fight, he'll still have half of the year before 2023 is over. And if his tweets in the last 2 years have been any indication, I'm pretty confident that we can assume he's dying to get back into the fighting game.
Takedowns as they gain the respect of the striker. Your striking gets better if you force takedowns because you're thinking about the shot, and now the shot's...
Hey, don't just take my word for it. The Notorious said the same thing himself on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani. And not only did he confirm this whole middle of summer fight with Chandler, he also let the fans know that he was going to fight again before the year was up. I don't know about you guys, but this is some exciting news. Don't you think so? Well, wait till you hear what he said next. Conor's not in this for the small-time gigs, guys. He knows he's still the biggest star the UFC has. And if he's able to beat Chandler, this guy's gunning for the welterweight title shot. You heard that right. Conor wants the winner of Usman versus Edwards. Yeah, he revealed some truly spicy details on the MMA Hour, but his future in the UFC isn't the only thing he talked about. The Irish brawler also had some things to say about Francis Ngannou. Yep, Ariel asked the Notorious a question about the fight business, and he brought up how some of the UFC's top guys have made an unprecedented move and left the promotion. Yeah, he was talking about Francis and Nate. Anyway, his question was whether or not Conor thought there was some sort of shift away from the UFC coming to the fight game. And if you know anything about the Mac, you'll know how he answered. Yeah, there was no way McGregor was gonna go against the UFC. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, the man isn't a sellout or a company shill. It just doesn't make sense for him to think that the UFC is anything other than the place to be. That's right, knowing his views on the supremacy of the promotion in the fight game should probably clue you into what he thinks about Ngannou. The Irish superstar thinks Francis made a mistake, and he didn't say this without any reasoning. Actually, unlike what you'd expect, he was very humble and composed throughout the whole thing. He talked about how, in his opinion, Ngannou made a bad decision, and that the UFC was without a doubt the biggest brand in fighting. I mean, he's not wrong there, but that's not all he said. He also let Ariel know that while Francis was free to do whatever he wanted, the man's value was coming from the fact that he was a UFC champ, and now that he's not, he might not find the same level of success. Now, as an Ngannou fan, I've gotta say I believe in the guy, but the Mac isn't entirely wrong, guys, and he's not the only one that thinks this way either. No, Chael Sonnen spent a whole 10 minutes on Andrew Schultz's podcast saying the same thing. But hey, does this mean the Mac's got any ill will towards the Predator? Not at all, guys. He was pretty supportive. Very surprisingly, despite his disagreement with the move that Ngannou made, Conor made sure to mention that the ex-heavyweight champ wasn't dead in the water. And I don't know about you, but I was glad to hear it. Francis is one of the greatest fighters the UFC has ever seen, and the guy's got a genuinely amazing story, so to see McGregor not write him off was pretty cool. Yeah, Conor mentioned how Ngannou was in talks with Eddie Hearn, and despite his disagreements, the Irishman made sure to wish the Predator all the best. Now, that's great and all, but what's gonna end up happening with Francis? Is he gonna be able to find success in the boxing world? Will he even be able to book a fight? Despite all the doubters, it looks like he's well on his way, guys. That's right, the Predator seems to be adapting well to free agency, even though pretty much everyone doubted him. Now, as far as his next fight goes, the guy's been talking to a lot of guys in the boxing world. He's called out Tyson Fury, but the Gypsy King's got his hands full with Usyk at the moment. Next, he went after Joshua, but it looks like talks with Eddie Hearn didn't go anywhere. But as it stands right now, the guy's in serious talks with Deontay Wilder and his team, and they're looking to do a 2-fight deal. According to Ngannou, we're gonna be seeing him fight sometime soon, and it's not very far-fetched at all, guys. I mean, part of the reason he left the UFC in the first place was because Wilder and Fury were calling him out. Still, booking a fight is only the first challenge. Can we be sure that Ngannou is going to have any real success in the boxing ring? Again, guys, the answer is yes. You've got to remember that this man isn't some regular old guy. No, he's one of the most resilient guys in the game right now, and he learned MMA in his 20s. That's extremely late, but he still managed to become one of the most dominant champions the heavyweight division has ever had. It's undeniable that he's a phenomenal athlete, so I'd encourage anyone watching this guy not to underestimate what he can do. That was a breakdown of McGregor's recent moves and his take on Ngannou's situation.